Have you ever found yourself in a relationship, maybe especially a marriage, sort of caught in that confusing loop where you're constantly wondering, okay, what did I do wrong this time? Maybe your partner just shuts down, goes quiet, stonewalls maybe for weeks, even months, and you're just left completely in the dark trying to figure out what grievance they're holding on to. So it's really perplexing.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly frustrating.
Right. And today, we're actually diving into a question from a listener that gets right to the heart of this. They ask, what does arguing look like with a happy wife? My wife stuffs and stacks issues she has with me, then stonewalls for sometimes months on end. I am left to wonder, what did I do wrong? I told her we could deal with each issue and get beyond them without harming each other. So how would conflict resolution look differently if we both claimed responsibility for our happiness?
Wow, that's a really specific and vulnerable question.
It is. And our mission today is to really distill the insights from a Q&A session we found on the Happy Wife School YouTube channel. Now, it's important for us to say up front, this source offers a very, let's say, distinct, sometimes provocative viewpoint on these dynamics.
Definitely a unique perspective.
Exactly. So, as always, our job here is just to impartially convey the ideas presented within that source material for you. We're not endorsing it. We're not refuting it. We're just trying to help you understand the concepts they put forward. Think of it as a shortcut to understanding this particular lens on conflict.
And that listener's question, even though it's so personal, it really does touch on what this source sees as fundamental principles, things about self-happiness, how that plays out in relationships.
Right.
We're going to explore some pretty intriguing concepts that might just offer some aha moments, maybe guide us beyond the simple fixes to a different way of thinking about all this.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. The source immediately flags something deeper going on when a wife stuffs and stacks issues and then stonewalls for months. And this is where the Happy Wife School offers its unique take.
Yeah, what's really fascinating from their perspective is that they see behavior like that as signaling a woman who is, in their words, unhappy in herself.
Unhappy in herself. Okay, What does that mean in this context?
Well, within this framework, it means she has what the source calls an unhealthy relationship with yourself. It's described as this constant feeling of lack or want, like never feeling truly satisfied or content or fulfilled. And the result, according to this viewer, is that she ends up living in camp victim.
Camp victim.
Yeah, it's a mindset where you tend to blame others, maybe your husband, maybe circumstances for your own unhappiness and any problems you face.
So if someone is operating from that camp victim mindset, are they really able to engage constructively, like in resolving conflict?
Well, not according to this source, no. It argues that this inability to take responsibility, to be accountable or willing to look at herself, maybe even admit she could be wrong, it means she's essentially incapable of living there.
Incapable of living in that responsible space.
Yeah, exactly. Incapable of that truly accountable life. In fact, from this specific viewpoint, unhappy women actually create issues, and then they maintain the issues and problems to maintain our unhappiness.
Wow. So conflict resolution isn't really the goal.
That's the assertion here. It's something they don't truly embrace because in this view, they need the issues, that stuffing and stacking behavior. It's seen as the proof and reasons and excuses for their unhappiness. It lets them stay, maybe even comfortably, in camp victim.
That really does flip the script on what many might assume about arguments.
Yeah.
That they're always about solving something.
Completely.
So if that's the picture of conflict with an unhappy wife, according to this school of thought, what does arguing look like with a happy wife?
Okay, spoiler alert time, based on the Happy Wife School.
Lay it on us.
They flat out state, there are no arguments with a truly happy wife.
No arguments at all.
That's the claim. Instead, happy wives, they say, want the issue solved. They actively contribute to what the source calls happy marriages and good men. They're described as natural problem solvers, looking for solutions, facts, compromise.
Okay.
So when both partners are operating from that kind of space, the source suggests they can just talk things out, navigate issues without needing to argue.
That brings up a really important question then. If there are supposedly no arguments with a happy wife, what is the purpose of arguing in a marriage from this particular viewpoint? Why does it happen?
Yeah, good question. If we connect it back to their bigger picture, the source argues that arguments in a marriage basically stem from a woman needing to be right.
The need to be right.
Yes. And this creates that dynamic where the wife becomes Mrs. Right and the husband is Mr. Always Wrong.
Yeah.
He's constantly being made to feel like he's in the wrong. So the purpose of arguing, in this very specific view, is explicitly not to resolve problems. Instead, it's to prove one is right. It's about defending self-righteousness and pretty much rejecting any other ideas or opinions.
But, lots of relationship experts talk about healthy arguing or, constructive conflict.
Mm-hmm.
How does this perspective from the Happy Wife School square with that more common idea?
Yeah, it really doesn't square with it. This deep dive offers a very, very different perspective on that. The host of the channel actually says she cannot remember the last time she argued with her husband, except maybe for, slight verbal things when, as she puts it, she was in her own woman ways.
Okay.
So from this viewpoint, there are simply no healthy arguments, period. Arguments are framed as a destructive and unhealthy tool, something that leaves people feeling disrespected, wrong, untrusting, hurt, and just wanting to give up.
Wow, that's a strong stance.
It is. It argues that mature adults should be able to solve issues without arguing. It sees arguing as rooted in things like chaos, self-righteousness, stubbornness, and an unwillingness to see another side. And this perspective also suggests that maybe many experts are missing what they see as the crucial context of a woman's internal unhappiness and what the source describes as our nature to emasculate, gaslight, and manipulate a good man.
That's a really powerful claim. You mentioned emasculation there. How does arguing specifically play into that, according to this source?
Well, arguing is presented as just another tool for emasculation of a good man. It's seen as specifically designed to leave him feeling wrong, deflated, and weak.
Oof.
Yeah. And the view here is that a man will never win an argument with your wife if she's unhappy. Even if he thinks he won, they suggest it's usually just because she wanted to end it, appease him.
But it's not really resolved.
Not in this view. She has collected it and stored it away on her hard drive of hurts. And that, they say, leads to later withdrawal and withholding. Things like unhappiness, putting up walls, stubbornness, self-centeredness. These are seen as blocking healthy conversation. They can twist a husband's words into emotional triggers. And this creates what the source calls an emotional vortex that just sucks everything out of our husbands.
An emotional vortex. Okay, so if arguments are framed as being so damaging and unhappy women are presented as sort of perpetuating them, what are the core reasons this perspective gives for why women might avoid true conflict resolution?
Right. Well, first, let's quickly clarify how the Happy Wife School defines conflict resolution. For them, it means solving a contested issue so it doesn't happen again, and involves fair compromise.
Okay, got it.
Now, the source identifies 5 key reasons why women, especially unhappy ones in their view, are never interested in conflict resolution.
All right, what are they?
Number 1. If it's not our idea or our way, it's not happening. Basically, a my way or the highway kind of mentality. Okay. Right. They even suggest a woman might shoot down her husband's perfectly logical idea only to bring it up herself, like days or weeks later, as if it was hers all along. Leaves him confused.
Right. That's number 2.
Number 2, and this is really crucial from the source's viewpoint, women don't want problems solved.
Don't want them solved.
That's the argument. Problems are needed, they say, to validate our unhappiness. Without problems, there's nothing to say of why we are unhappy. For many women, according to this source, chaos and problems actually become a kind of comfort zone. Being happy feels, vulnerable, exposing, even uncomfortable, because it's unfamiliar.
Wow. Okay, that's a big one. What's reason number 3?
Reason 3. Women take everything as a personal attack. So every conflict, every issue that gets brought up, it just feels like a personal attack or an affront. This apparently stems from feeling wrong, criticized, and hurt at just the thought of having a look at themselves. Meanwhile, the source suggests when good men bring up issues, they're often actually fighting for you and fighting for the marriage because they care, but it's perceived differently.
Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, women don't want to be accountable because we don't want to change and look at ourselves. This suggestion is that women live in blame partly to avoid that self-reflection. Because changing feels wrong, somehow it exposes flaws, and it can lead to this feeling of being an unfixable mess.
Like it's too overwhelming.
Exactly. The internal dialogue might be something like, I am so broken that there's no place to even begin.
Gotcha. And the last one, number 5.
You're finally number 5. Women live on the fence in marriage, meaning having one foot in, one foot out. A sort of unwillingness to be fully committed.
How do unresolved issues play into that?
Well, according to this view, those unresolved issues allow them to stay uncommitted, to keep daydreaming and fantasizing about some other life out there. Resolving conflict would force them to get off the fence and be committed. And if they don't want to face themselves, that commitment would just foster miserableness and indecisiveness.
Okay, so given all those potential roadblocks,
Yeah.
how would conflict resolution look then if both partners really did claim responsibility for their own happiness?
Yeah.
Like our listener asked. What's the ideal scenario presented here?
Right, so connecting back to the bigger picture, the source argues that a good man's fundamental nature is happy, generally content, a problem solver.
Okay.
So when a woman actively creates her own happiness and takes responsibility for it, then you have two happy people. And two happy people, they say, create happy marriages.
And in that scenario, no arguing.
No need for arguing is the idea. Instead, they resolve issues with understanding and appreciation of each other. The model presented allows the husband to lead, and the wife puts aside her need to be right and embraces being humble. The conversation then focuses on, facts, finding common ground, moving forward together. It's about mutual respect and that shared goal of a peaceful, harmonious home.
So for the women listening to this, maybe recognizing some echoes of these dynamics,
Yeah.
what's the really crucial takeaway? What's the red pill moment, as the source puts it?
Ah, yes, the red pill moment. This is where the Happy Wife School suggests a pretty major shift in perspective needs to happen. The moment is described as seeing that we don't want the issues resolved, we actually want the problems.
Wow, that's splendid.
It is. And the tough pill to swallow, it suggests, is realizing that with a good man, I am the problem. Meaning, if a woman is unwilling to solve problems, the problems are just going to stick around because of her.
So it boils down to a choice.
Exactly. The fundamental question for women, according to this perspective, becomes, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Because being happy, it argues, means letting go of that need to be right.
And flipping that coin, for the men who might be listening and recognizing some of these patterns in their own relationships, what's the advice offered by this source?
Right. For men, the advice is essentially to know the reality and objectives of your wife as a woman. And this means avoiding the mistake of projecting onto your wives that we are like you.
Meaning, don't assume she's approaching it rationally and logically like you might be?
Precisely. Don't assume she's automatically rational, logical, fair-minded, a problem solver in the same way. Recognize that when a wife is being highly emotional and perhaps irrational, the source suggests she might be out to make you wrong and blame you. The advice is, don't get caught in the gaslighting and man manipulation that the source claims can happen.
Okay.
The Happy Wife School plainly states your wife isn't right in those moments, and it makes the broad claim that women are generally very poor at relationships with others because they aren't good at the relationship with themselves first. Men, on the other hand, are described as very natural at relationships.
Interesting contrast there.
Yeah. And if a wife does agree to some kind of resolution, men are advised to watch carefully for no follow-through. Because according to this view, that lack of follow-through indicates she might have just agreed to appease him, to end the discussion, but wasn't truly on board.
So the man's job is?
Man's job in this framework is to see the reality of the situation, navigate it with reasonable expectations, and crucially, avoid falling into camp victim himself. Don't get sucked into the blame game.
Okay. Shifting focus just slightly. This whole framework puts a huge emphasis on personal responsibility, right? Getting out of camp victim. What does the source say about how to do that? How do we understand our own role?
Yeah, they did touch on how to get out of camp victim. And it really boils down to asking yourself some tough questions. What is my part and role here? What are the choices and decisions I've made that have led to this issue, this challenge in my life?
So owning your choices.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing to see yourself as a product of my choices, rather than feeling like a victim of my circumstances. That self-reflection is presented as the key to regaining control and agency.
Makes sense.
And there was another really insightful point they made about why women don't want to be happy.
Oh. Why wouldn't someone want to be happy?
Well, the answer given is that unhappiness can actually become a strange sort of comfort zone, especially if they've been unhappy for a really long time, maybe feeling like that unfixable mess we talked about.
Right.
In that context, actually being happy can feel incredibly vulnerable, exposing, even uncomfortable. Why?
Okay.
Because it's the unknown. It's quite literally, as the source puts it, choosing the devil I know versus the devil I don't, sticking with the familiar pain rather than risking the unfamiliarity of happiness.
We've definitely taken a deep dive today into the Happy Wife School's perspective on conflict, marriage, and happiness. Seeing how profoundly self-happiness or even, strangely, a comfort with unhappiness can shape our interactions, according to this particular source. It certainly offers a distinct lens to look through.
It really does. This discussion highlights how, from this viewpoint at least, some of the most challenging dynamics in our relationships might just trace back to our own internal state, our willingness or maybe unwillingness to take responsibility for our own happiness. It definitely encourages some deep self-assessment.
So as you're listening and processing all this, what does it mean for you? Maybe consider this provocative thought. If unhappiness, chaos, and maybe even unresolved problems can become a kind of comfort zone, that devil you know, where else in your life might you be, perhaps unconsciously, clinging to a familiar struggle, holding on to something difficult simply because it's known, rather than stepping into the vulnerable, maybe uncomfortable, but potentially liberating unknown of true happiness and resolution?
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and please join us next time for another deep dive.